Dear viewers, security expert Mr. Praveen Sawhney has fully explained how Bravado on the Dalai Lama succession will expose India to war with China. Dear viewers, according to him, PLA of China has capacity and capability of ending war in its favor. Let's listen to him.
I said this is the only issue over which China will go to war. As far as the war is concerned, as I said earlier also, China will fight on this issue with India, and God forbid a war doesn't happen, because the Indian military still doesn't understand what sort of a war they are up against, what sort of an adversary they are up against. For example, as far as Pakistan is concerned, we saw a glimpse of the one front reinforced war during Operation Sindoor. Now, as far as China is concerned, it's an entirely different ball game. It is not what the Deputy Chief of the Indian Army, Rahul Singh, spoke about, mudslinging match on the line of actual control. It is not about what the Indian Army chiefs, so many of them have said, that boots on the ground will be essential, and hence the Indian Army will have to be a lead against the PLA. It is not about what the Air Force has repeatedly said, that we have an advantage over the PLA Air Force, because the PLA Air Force will operate from high altitude where the air is rarefied, so their aircraft fighters will not be able to carry much weapon loads. So this is the advantage that the Indian Air Force sees, because it believes there will be a one-on-one engagement, which it will not be. Now, a glimpse of the PLA war I have already mentioned in my last video, which is that PLA can fight today in 5 battle spaces: virtual battle space, physical battle space, information battle space, cognition battle space, and information war. Just to go a step further, for the Indian Army to understand that since 2015, the PLA has been training on what is called the Joint Integrated Operations. Now, this is asymmetrical warfare. What this means is they will be able to fire, they have the capability of electromagnetic fire, electronic fire, cyber fire, kinetic fires, which is their rocket force of the PLA. And as part of the rocket force, we know that the PLA has in its inventory the hypersonic glide vehicle, the hypersonic cruise missiles. We are talking about now, as far as the other 3 fires are concerned, the speed of light. And as far as the rocket force is concerned, their missiles are concerned, we are talking about all beyond Mach 5, more than Mach 5, Mach 10. This is the speeds we are talking about. Then we are talking about total transparency of the battle space, where the PLA and the Beidou system, because of the Beidou system that they have, the Beidou satellite constellation, the PLA will have total transparency. It will know about the deployments of the Indian Army, the Indian Air Force, and we know in the mountains and high altitude areas, the maneuverability, the space for maneuver is always very limited. And another thing that I must mention here is all these fires that I spoke about, the electromagnetic fire, electronic fire, cyber fire, rocket forces fire, they all have nothing to do with high altitude. They have nothing to do with the climatic conditions. Now, as far as the Indian Air Force is concerned, it will be an asymmetrical warfare. That means the PLA has today the capability to have total air dominance because of these fires that I mentioned. Then they have their bombers, they have their swarms, and they have drones of various types. This all will be the first wave. In addition to that, what they have is counter-intervention strategy, what the Americans called anti-access area denial of the Chinese, which essentially is an integrated air and missile defense firewall that they have. So all this will be able to create air dominance, and in the second wave for the air dominance will come their PLAF, which is their 4th and the 5th generation aircraft. So this is what we are up against as far as the Indian Air Force is concerned. Now, as far as the Indian Army is concerned, I would ask them to remember the 1991 Operation Operation Desert Storm that the Americans did against the Iraqi army. Now, in that, because the gap was so huge in the two sides, science and the art of war, that the air campaign lasted 44 days and there was only 100 days of ground operation, and that was essentially mopping up operation. All the talk about the Republican Guard being 10 feet tall, nothing happened. Everything was done in 100 hours. So what I am saying is that the gap between the PLA and the Indian military today is so huge, which is why I said in the beginning it will be a war that the world has not seen before. And PLA today has that capability to end a war decisively in its favor, reclaiming what it says belongs to it in 7 to 10 days' time. More details are there in my book, The Last War. So the Indian Army has really a lot of catching up to do and to understand before they start doing their own reforms, the structural reforms that CDS Anil Chauhan has undertaken and which has been going on since 2020. Now, as far as the Modi government is concerned, Modi government needs to understand what this whole thing is all about, and it has to. And there are ways of peace. There are ways of peace both with Pakistan and China. Something I have said repeatedly, but will the Modi government do all that? I'm not very sure of that. Thank you very much.
Dear viewers, last but not the least, China has made it clear that the Dalai Lama lacks the authority over reincarnation, a practice spanning 700 years. Media Zabu Zainab Sarfraz Ahmad, Karachi, Pakistan. Ana Zainab Sarfraz Ahmad, Karachi, Pakistan.